Hey there, and welcome to the daily podcast where wisdom smacks us with kisses or love taps. I'm MichelleSpiva, a wisdom strengthening coach, your host, and practical priestess of wisdom. Mwah. Join us daily to gain wisdom and mental strength as we tackle innovative thinking, address emotional and behavioral life traps, and yes, provide you with some practical how to's to wrap it all up. So settle in or crank up the speed 2x, whatever gets your mental processes firing as we dive in. Stay tuned. Yay! Hey there, this is Michelle Spiva, and I do want to welcome you to today's podcast of Wisdom Smack with me, your host and practical priestess of wisdom, Michelle, as I just said. Mwah. I am continuing to self distance like everyone else. But the good thing about it is there's so much content out there. There's more time to concentrate when I meditate, and wisdom is not failing us. And so today I want you to stick with me because we're going to be talking about how to take a full swing at your life and your future. I'll see you on the flip. All right. There's a good reason to reframe what's going on. Now my one of my siblings has been sending me the funniest memes and outtakes of people that's been totally losing it because most people are around in the bin on either week 2 or week 3 of self isolation, self not isolation, self sheltering. And one that she sent me was heartbreaking, but it was the cutest little thing, and it was some celebrity's beautiful little daughter who was having a breakdown. She was like, "I don't care how wide you open the window, I want to go outside." And she said, "I wish there were two of me. One that could stay in the house and follow the rules, and the other one that could just be outside." And I understand her pain, but I was just laughing so hard because of her reasoning. And the thing is she was willing to go full on. She said, "I do want to obey the rules fully. So I do want me to be here in this house." She said, "But I also want all of me to be outside. So I wish I could have two of me." And at that moment, I was like, "You know what, baby? You are precious. I love the way you look at things, and you never lose that because that's some innovative thinking and wisdom." Snatched me and was like, "I wish everybody would take this time to understand the gift that it is, that this is your way to have a reset, to take a full swing at the bat." And I was arrested in that because I have been feeling that, but I've also been spending too much time wrestling with all the worries that adults wrestle with. Like, okay, well, I have this coming up. How do I, reschedule that? And all of the different things that really don't mean that much when you get handed something like this. And as I was meditating, wisdom kind of, has this way of pulling things that seem to be so left field of what you're thinking. Well, at least for me, but then starts to show me and reveal to me some things. Now, I've been, like I said, I've been working with this concept about power, strength, and wisdom. And I started to look at the progression of how we put things together and how we get to the points of our conclusions or our understandings about how we live our life. And as I was going back and looking, thanks now to the way this young baby, I'm going to put her at maybe about 5 or 6, brilliant child. She was like, "I want to be fully committed to obeying the rules, but fully committed to being able to live my life. She said, I just want to go outside. And wisdom is showing us, or at least showing us through what she's been showing me. And yes, I prefer to call wisdom a she, that this is the time when we get to go full in. And when I say full in, it's the time when, you know, somebody snapped a finger like Thanos and said, world stop. And wouldn't you know it, the world stopped. We didn't get, half of us turned to dust, but you would think that we were, because of all of the bemoaning, all of the, oh my God, all of the, I just want to go outside and all of this kind of stuff, and not realizing that because of possibly your prayers, your journals, your thoughts, your desires of your heart filled with the passion, that you might have gotten what you've been asking for. That time to be able to create, that time to be able to change the trajectory of your life, that time to become a new you, that time to create something that you haven't had time to create. And I do hear you. I do understand that you're not just at home doing nothing. I'm not at home doing nothing. My days are just as full as they used to be because I still have to, you know, try to fulfill the obligations that I have at the moment. I'm still, trying to focus to write my books. I'm still doing the things to make a livelihood as best I can in this new day. And I'm still doing things to make sure I can come to you daily. So I understand. And I'm going to also say is that at this particular time, I'm encouraging you to take a full swing, there is this big C that we have to deal with and embrace, and that is commitment. And the commitment that I'm talking about is that commitment to that one thing that you've possibly daydreamed about, that you're like, if I ever get a chance to, I'm going to. Or that thing that you keep looking at and saying, I really need to do X, Y, and Z. Or maybe it's that thing that you said, I'm going to take some time off from work and I'm going to make this my project. These are some of the things that are calling to you right now that you can get committed to. So it might be that after you finally get the kids settled down at night in their own rooms, because maybe they sleep, maybe they play in their rooms or whatever, maybe you get committed to portioning out a few hours of just being oddly, not oddly, but focused. That means turning off the cell phone. That means if you have to do it and it requires you to do it online, not jumping on social media and not doing the things that would take away from your ability to be focused. And I'm going to tell you, it's real hard. I am not asking you to do something that does not take great feats. That's why I'm only asking you to try to commit to something in your private time that you want to do, or you has been beckoning to you, or that you were willing to take leave from your job to do it now. Because I'm going to tell you, in what I've been seeing, and most people, I don't know why they don't tend to look for themselves, because our ability to gain information is very valuable. Just going back from and I'm in the United States, so we have the Centers for Disease Control, which we call CDC. Me, with my curiosity, I just wanted to know what the CDC said about the patient zero, or the origins. And they are saying that it was around November when first signs started showing in Wuhan that something wasn't right. And so, of course, I used my little fingers, my phalanges, and I counted from November. And I was like, that's, as of the time of this recording, that was 5 months ago. And we're just now seeing where the numbers from the origin, or what we think is the origin, over in our sisters and brothers over in China, has been about 5 months. So why do we think that it's going to do any different here especially with some of the challenges we've had with getting everyone to get on board with the self distancing and trying to beat that doggone curve flat and all of that. And so when I said I counted on my phalanges and looked at it, I was like, okay, about 4 or 5 months. And so that puts us squarely into the summer. And that means that when we get through this, because we will, when we get through this, if you've taken the time to take a full swing, I mean, go full bore and do it now and do it early so that you can have some misses at bat and still have time to get some stuff done. My God, today you will be able to take advantage and do a lot because it'll be the summertime. Well, in the Western Hemisphere, it'll be the summertime. It'll be warm enough for you to go and do things outside. You'll have longer days of sunlight, and the sun will be shining ever on your favor. And so that was something that I kind of started saying, wow. So I'm not going to tell you the thing that I have committed to, but what I will say is I'm quite excited about it because I was nerdy enough, and that's a good thing, to get my little calendar out and start looking at some stuff. And I was like, okay, it's about to be on. And I felt really good because taking this swing at the bat, it commits me for longer than the immediate. And it doesn't take me so long that it feels like I'm having to start from scratch. But I have my deadline. I blocked out my chunks of what I want to get done this month, next month, and, and on into 4 months because I was like, something like that really helps. And so, anyway, I wanted to make sure that I share this with you because I really believe wisdom is powerful. Uh, Powerful. And so, let's talk about some practicalities of what this looks like. Now, for some of us, this is going to be where we do things like learn a new skill. Maybe you wanted to always learn how to play an instrument, or you wanted to learn how to craft, or maybe it's something to get you into a new lifestyle business, or maybe you wanted to learn how to become strong enough to, I don't know, be able to skip rope for the golden 4 minutes that the average boxer can. These things are exciting. But they take time and they take consistency. And these are things that you could look at. Maybe you want to learn a new language. I don't know. But there are a lot of different things that you could do in learning a new skill. Now, let me just say something about a new skill. A new skill requires training. It requires, if you're going to get some good results, I consider you take the advice of Dr. Enders Erickson, Anderson, and you do deliberate practice on these, meaning that you try to do the best you can and get feedback or check your results against what is usual and customary for good advancement, whether you get online with a coach or you zoom someone to check out what you're doing, or you get on YouTube and find people that you can digitally be mentored by watching their videos and examples of stuff. But, test out, doing your new skill. Now, maybe this is where you decided I am going to immerse myself with a certain historical event or, some kind of knowledge that you want to learn. That would be a great time right now to do it. It would give you time, of course, once you get through with work and all of the Zoom meetings and the calls and the this and the that, but committing to saying, okay, I am going to become a fairly well adjusted and comfortable with a certain subject. Because I don't know if you could get to expert status if you're starting something new, but if you are um, fair to middling, as my grandfather would say, on certain knowledges, you possibly could become an expert depending on how much time you can put to it. But take a full swing. Go full out for it, you know? And this is one of the things that I had to grapple with today because I was like, Michelle, don't squander another day. Don't squander another day trying to, continue to deal with the ghost of the shock of, you know, being quarantined in a global pandemic. That's done. You're familiar with that. Now, this is how I'm talking to myself, you guys. It's like take your own advice. You're done. That's fine. This is your new normal. Now, what do you want to do? And boom, wisdom is like, take advantage of this. This is a gift. This is a chance for a lot of people to reset, reframe, or rise from the ashes to become something new and newer and different. And with that, being able to find maybe your why. If you have been squandering your time up until this point, I'm going to politely ask you to please stop. Take advantage of this because this is a gift to give you more time. Like I've said in other podcasts, for many of us, you've gained at least 4 extra hours in your day. If you've had to commute and you live in a city like, um, well, I live in the Atlanta metro area, and it can easily be 45 minutes to an hour one way for your commute. That automatically gives you 90 minutes to 2 hours right there. And let's not even talk about the time to get up, get dressed, get a shower or a bath, get your clothes on and get into your car, or even having time to grab something to eat. That's another hour each way. So there is your 3 to 4 hours right there that you automatically got back. Reframing to take advantage of this great gift that you have gotten. Now, I would be remiss if I did not be just straight up with you and get you ready to understand that when you take your swing, there are going to be three ingredients, components, or requirements of you that you got to be ready for. So here comes your first wisdom smack. And that is that you're going to need to have focus. And that focus is going to be on your right now why. And when I say your right now why, what I mean is you got to get it kind of clear why you need to do this right now, because what you do now is going to predict what you have later. And the first thing is you have to be committed to it. Like I said before, be committed, and you got to be focused. But the next thing, now this is the hard part, and I kind of was like, "Ugh," because based on what it is I'm trying to do, these two components are going to be very real, and that is you got to figure out and be okay with what is going to be your suffering and sacrifice. What are your suffering and sacrifice capabilities? What are you willing to suffer? What are you willing to sacrifice to make sure that you take your full swing? Is it going to be your suffering where you don't take that afternoon nap, or you continue to get up at the same time that you would have gotten up to get ready to go to work? Because I know some of y'all are sleeping in. I do. Or what is it that you're willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice watching your favorite shows on binge at night to do this? Are you willing to sacrifice spending certain things so that you can have the funds to uh, be able to use for this project that you are taking your full swing at? Those are things to consider. And it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what you do. And just being able to get it in your mind that commitment, focus, suffering, and sacrifice are going to be required will help you, because you will have prepared yourself mentally and emotionally to expect that it's not going to be all this excitement that you feel when you come up with it. And this is to me the greatest dupe of any kind of creative endeavor. I was like, why is this? Because when you decide that you're going to create something, first there's this great excitement because you might be just excited that you got the idea. and you're happy that you're like, "Oh, I really want that." But then immediately after that, that is when you get that whoosh of, "Oh, this is not going to be fun." And many people make it through that first amount of, "Okay, I said I was going to do this." And so you go through it, you start to engage in a little bit of suffering and sacrifice. But then, as the process of creativity usually is, there's a lot of anxiety when you create. And this is not bad anxiety. This is that friction you need to become the person who created this. Because every time you create something, every time you bring something into existence, you change. And that is every time I write a book, I get more gray hair. I'm like, "Oh my god, I feel like I birthed this thing." And yes, you have, because you're changing. You're becoming a new person, because the person who creates whatever it is you decide you're going to take a full swing at is not the person who was before that, because that person can't do what this new person can do. And so it requires a certain amount of skin in the game and toll that needs to be paid. Okay. And what I want you to do is, I want you to not feel pressured by what I say, but I want you to take the time to set yourself up, for some new things in your future. I dare you. I issue a dare. Take the time to say, "You know what? Maybe I do want to reframe this and understand that the world has stopped, and I get to get off of that treadmill, rat race, or whatever you want to call it, for just a little bit. So let me put something together so that when the world picks back up and starts moving at the breakneck speed that it likes to, I'll be ready and I'll have something new. Don't squander this time." It, for me, is a blessing now that I can see past all the, "Oh, everything is changed," to now settling into my new normal, like I've been talking with you about. I am happy to, share with you that this is a time when, for me, I'm continuing to build on my wisdom skills. I'm getting a chance to read more books. I looked back and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've completed, what was it? I've read 3 books. Yeah, 3 books." And I was like, "Okay," and they were really good books, by the way. I was like, "Okay, good, this works." So I've managed to get 3 more books done. And then this is another thing, I've talked to you about it, and I'm gonna, just share a little bit more and in what I'm actually doing. I've talked about the need to learn how to learn. And for me at this particular time, I'm digging deeper to learn how to learn by understanding how I process certain things in my now, the person I am now, and getting to the point where I can step outside of myself to objectively and even critically look at how I learn. I had this podcast that I put together and I have not released it yet. I mean, I haven't even recorded it yet. But when I first started looking at learning how to learn, one of the biggest things I realized was that we all have a huge blind spot to our weaknesses. And that is another reason why people do SWOT analysis, where they look at their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats so that they can get more rounded in their objectivity, because we need that. But it requires that we don't go too far to either side, because if you're overly critical, you never get anything done. And if you're overly optimistic, you never get anything done, because you don't take the precautions, you don't take the wisdom to think things through, to be able to put more things in your plans so they have a better chance at working. And so these are the things that I'm taking a look at. And in my previous podcast that I made notes for, I made notes of this. I was looking at a lot of training for soldiers, recruits, and how militaries around the world break people's minds and their bodies and then build them back up. And one of the things that I saw with a lot of master sergeants and trainers and the like was that a lot of people telegraph their weaknesses and they are not even aware of them. And there's a huge blind spot. And the more you get into higher disciplined training, the more these master trainers are there not to teach you anything more about learning, but how to know yourself, how to start accurately knowing your weaknesses so that you won't be duped and you won't be taken advantage of for people who can readily see. You'll be able to shore up those points. And I will say, at this time, being able to take my full swing, I get that chance to go and start looking at that because each year that we do something, each day that we take, we are, if we're doing it right, becoming a new person. And so the things that you did 2, 3, or even 5 years ago, the way you used to operate back then, you shouldn't be operating the same way. You really should be a different person. And that means that you should be updating your skills on how you do stuff. And so, the biggest thing or the biggest takeaway I want to say in this little time that we have together is that because you've gotten this gift of time, because you've gotten this gift that you're not expected to go out and build other people's dreams to the extent that you used to be. You can take this time to focus on you. For some people, your project is going to be trying to get to a point where you can settle in on your right now why. Some people are have been feeling aimless, shiftless, directionless, hopeless. And this might be your big project that you reinvigorate yourself. You build yourself back up. There are people that, and it always amazes me that how our culture touts the fleshly temple, and we have so many people that can readily see the value of doing whatever it takes to build, to break that body down and build it back up so that you can look pretty. And it's a temporary thing because no matter what, we age and our beauty doesn't necessarily fade, it changes. But yet and still, people still always try to fight that and they use all these efforts. But these same people, their physiques might be very strong and toned, but then when you look at their minds are out of proportion because they've only necessarily not necessarily they've only strengthened them in certain areas to be able to do what it is they do for their physical, but they don't take a sweeping inventory of all of the stuff going on inside. And so there's deformity. And I want to encourage you that if you made it to this point and you really are seeing the efficacy of taking advantage of this time, yeah, you can go do a new skill. You can even start a side hustle if you want to. You can gain more knowledge, become an expert at something. You can build your wisdom. You can relearn how to learn. But if nothing else, and you're at a point where you're like, yeah, I get a chance to build a new me, go after finding out what you can commit to for the right now to get what you want in the immediate, future of maybe a year to 3 years. And start working on that and work on it with full focus and commitment. Don't muddy it up with other stuff. And maybe if you don't necessarily know what you want to do, you can't really get excited or connected with anything, take this time to build out an extensive inventory to actually go and start looking at and testing things to see, could I commit to this for 36 to 48 or 36 to 60 months? Could I be that person for 3 to 5 years? And if that is good, go with that. I'm really wanting you to see how much of a blessing and a boon we have been afforded because we have that extra time. We have it where You can't have people who are neurotically obsessive breathing down your throat 24/7, because there's only so much you can do if you still have a job. There's only so much you can do if you're looking for a job. This is where, like I said, it's almost equivalent to Thanos snapping his finger and saying stop. And instead of having half of us turn into dust, we're all sitting here having to shelter in and do the minimal. So take advantage of this time and be as well rounded as you can, but understand that this really is a blessing. And hey, if you decide you want to even write a book, be on the lookout, because I'm going to be putting something together new. I have a lot of people who've reached out and asked that I put something together. I'm going to do an updated something, I should say, on how to write a book and put it out. So be on the lookout for that if that's your thing too. So guess what? Yeah, my time is up. I want to thank you for yours. This has been Michelle Spiva, your practical priestess of wisdom, with today's podcast of Wisdom Smack. So I do want to ask you with all sincerity to get some confidence, borrow it if you have to, and be ready to take a full swing. Go to that bat and swing for that home run. If it doesn't work the first time, keep swinging while you have this time, because this could very well be your golden 30, 60, 90, or even 120 days. Take advantage of it, because it might not come back around like this anytime soon. So, this is a daily podcast. And guess what? I'm going to see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye. And that's going to do it for today's podcast of Wisdom Smack with Michelle Spiva. If you like this podcast, please help us get the word out. Like, comment, subscribe, and even share. And if you really like it, please help us continue to get the word out by considering using this show's link for Amazon. So when you want to go to Amazon and you do all of your general shopping, please use MichelleSpiva.com/AMZ. It's simple as that. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and this show might receive a little bit of commission that will go towards helping to further get these episodes out to you and to others. So thank you so much for listening. This has been Michelle Spiva with Wisdom Smack. Bye.